Good afternoon. My daughter Katie had a mental illness, and she died by suicide when she was 29. I want to tell you the story of the beauty and dignity of Katie's life, and I also want to tell you what I've learned about the beauty and dignity of all people who live with a mental illness. People who all too often must live with the unfair burdens of shame and discrimination for simply having an illness. People who all too often are abandoned by our society and sadly, at times, by our church. We can do better. Everyone loved Katie. You couldn't help but love her. She was beautiful. She was vibrant. She played soccer, musical instruments, and always had a group of close friends. She was, in a word, awesome. Yet when her mental illness flared up, this mental illness told Katie that she was a terrible burden, that no one liked or loved, and that she was a useless mistake. This mental illness finally overwhelmed her and became lethal. There's nothing rational about suicide. Just hours after we found out that Katie died, I wrote her obituary. As you can imagine, I was in shock and in no way able to think straight, but God was with me. I wanted our neighbors and our parishioners to know what happened so that there would not be any gossip or hushed words. I wanted them to know that Katie was a good girl who had a terrible illness. I had hoped Katie's obituary would encourage an open and honest conversation in our small town of Scranton, Pennsylvania, about mental illness and suicide. What actually happened was totally unexpected and amazing. Katie's obituary went viral. It was covered in news around the world. Katie's obituary has been seen by millions of people. It apparently speaks to what so many people who live with mental illness experience. So let me read you Katie's obituary. It is short and simple. Katie Shoener, age 29, fought bipolar disorder for 11 years, but she finally lost the battle to suicide. So often people who have a mental illness are known as their illness. People say that she is bipolar or he is schizophrenic. Over the coming days, as you talk to people about this, please do not use that phrase. People who have cancer are not cancer. People with diabetes are not diabetes. Katie was not bipolar. She had an illness called bipolar disorder. Katie herself was a beautiful child of God. The way we talk about people and their illness affects the people themselves and how we treat the illness. In the case of mental illness, there is so much fear, ignorance, and hurtful attitudes that people who suffer from mental illness needlessly suffer further. Our society does not provide the resources that are needed to adequately understand and treat mental illness. In Katie's case, she had the best medical care available. She always took the cocktail of medicines that she was prescribed, and she did her best to be healthy and manage this illness. And yet, that was not enough. Someday, a cure will be found. But until then, we need to support and be compassionate to those with a mental illness every bit as much as we support those who have cancer, heart disease, or any other illness. Please know that Katie was a sweet, wonderful person that loved life, the people around her, and Jesus Christ. Since Katie's death, I have joined with many other good people to create the Association of Catholic Mental Health Ministers. We help people to start a new ministry called Mental Health Ministry. Mental Health Ministry is growing. We are thrilled to recently work with the Vatican and Pope Francis on his monthly prayer intention for people that live with depression. So please stop by our table and talk to us about starting a ministry in your parish. So I want you to know this. If you're struggling with mental illness, know this. Your pain is real, but so is hope. Christ will never abandon you. You are never alone. Christ sees your beauty. Christ sees your dignity. Amen.